Alexandra, I would like to ask you, what is your favorite type of prototype and why?
Okay, so well, I start by just briefly saying what I do, what is my main area of practice. So I mostly work with visual design, visual communication, and I start from photography and then I mix photography with other technique. So I love, which is probably quite unusual, I love collage as a form of prototyping. So I take images from different sources. I create images. I use existing images, and I like to put them together and experiment how they work together, how they communicate what I would like to communicate, and how color composition, type, because I use words too a lot, work together. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. So collage is my favorite form of prototyping.
Oh, that's really good.
Alessandra, do you have an example for us to show and explain what a collage looks like and maybe what it tells you as a prototype?
Right, okay, I'm not ready, but I want to show you what I'm experimenting. So I am using an old typewriter to write text, and I'm collecting old saying, proverbs from Italian traditional ecological knowledge. So I'm tapping them down using an old typewriter. I use watercolor using earth pigments. So I mix watercolor with earth and I put them together. And then the next step, let me see if I have it here. Images. Oh, here. I am using an instant camera to take pictures of plants, local plants, and then I edit them in Photoshop so they become sort of abstract. And the idea is putting together text, watercolor, and images on a work about traditional ecological knowledge. So that's it's not exactly prototyping because I don't have them ready, but it's just showing you all the different elements that I want to put together and that I would like to experiment with. That's what I'm doing at the moment.
It's sort of like combination of the good, the new, and the old.
Yeah, and I'm using an instant camera which doesn't use ink but only pigment, so it's not chemical at all. It's a Kodak instant camera and is 100% eco-friendly. So, and the paper that it uses is recycled paper. So yeah, because when we use photography, we need to think a lot about sustainability and the impact that it has on nature because photography uses chemical. This camera doesn't use any chemical, just natural pigment, salt pigment that react to sunlight.
That's really good.
Do you think it's important is it important for you to, when you prototype, that the prototyping material reflects what you're aiming to test out, in the sense, ecology related questions, or, so does the material you use or the way you use prototype actually also answers what you want to ask of?
Yes, absolutely. I think if I'm working on ecological issues, or in this case, traditional ecological knowledge, it would make sense for me to use materials that have a strong impact on the environment. So I think ecology, sustainability starts from the process. So everything that I use it's as much as I can sustainable. So it's recycled paper, photography that doesn't use chemical, an old typewriter bought on eBay, so nothing new. I think the ink of the typewriter is not 100% ecological, but I do what I can. I keep an eye during the process on yes, on ecology and sustainability, especially. I mean, it doesn't make sense to produce something that visually talks about sustainability if you don't think about that in your process. So that starts from the very beginning. So the use of materials for me is really important.
Alessandra, may I just ask a question? So in that respect, how would you use the way that you prototype? How would you influence the student as to their prototyping activities?
I think collage is a very accessible and easy way of prototyping, and you can work with what you have. I mean, okay, if you have an instant camera, you can produce your own images, but you can use images that you find around. So it's really not challenging in terms of accessing materials, visual materials. So I think I would propose to students to use collage as a form of prototype, to try and also find new ways of producing collages. That's a good thing with collage, because it's so open, it's so experimental. You can actually personalize it. You can create your own way of putting images together, or we can go one step forward, assemblage, so put images and objects together if you want to work on 3D.
Yeah, I love that. It really reminds me of studios, especially architecture studios, using many blocks of foam just for throwaway models. And I think it's lovely to have that aspect of reusing what you have and just building with what you have. Do you think it will, since you're reusing and assembling different kinds of aesthetics, have an impact on the design proposal that you create? So the technique of prototyping, will it have an impact on what you're proposing as a solution? Or
Yes, I think it would have an impact. I think the way we work has an impact on what we propose in general, and sometimes we need to be more objective, but I think all creative people bring themselves into what they do and what they propose and what they share, and that's the beauty of it, because you bring your own experience. And I also like working in teams with people that have very different competencies and background, because I can learn about their processes. So I think that's really a fantastic thing. And I can learn from students a lot, because they bring their own processes and ideas and ways of working.